Part 49. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 481. The demonic sound that enveloped his spiritual level was shattered in an instant. Crack, crack. A mysterious shattering sound rang in everyone's mind, a sound at the spiritual level. Lin Yi couldn't help but frown when he heard this sound. The deputy general manager in front of him was more powerful than he had imagined. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward arrow. When he faced this impact for the first time, he almost tried his best to barely suppress the spiritual impact, but the deputy general manager solved it so easily. Is it an existence above the ghost immortal? It's really terrifying, not at the same level at all. Lin Yi naturally saw it very clearly. When facing the deputy general manager's attack, he had already opened the true destiny solution and observed all the changes in the other party's body. He clearly saw in his eyes that the power in the deputy general manager's body at this time was as terrifying as a volcano. On the other party's chest, where Huang Ting was, there was a small deputy general manager. Wearing a simple Taoist robe, holding a black sword in his left hand and a pure white treasure bottle in his right hand, he sat on a red lotus, with a black bell floating above his head. All of them are magical instruments that emit powerful power fluctuations. The voice of the deputy general manager just now was emitted by this little man. Lin Yi can be sure that this little man is not a soul, but a more advanced existence. He contains infinite power in his body, which is a new form of energy that combines spirit and essence at the same time. It is several times stronger than pure essence, resulting in the same body output limit, and the power that can be burst will also increase several times. Is this the secret of the earthly immortal level? At the same time, he also saw the heart position of the deputy general manager, where there is a wonderful badge. The badge emits 5 different colors, which are 5 different strange powers. His eyebrows jumped slightly. This is a system of strange power. This deputy general manager practices both, and his combat power is even stronger. I wonder what kind of power the strange system he masters has. Lin Yi has never obtained the real Earth immortal level information and the power system of the strange side, so he doesn't understand what's going on. But he has also read a lot of vernacular novels in his previous life, and he was thoughtful. Is the little man on his chest a higher level soul? Things like Yuan Shen and Yuanying in novels. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but show a trace of surprise in his eyes. At this time, with the deputy general manager's angry rebuke, the phantom on the 1,000 paper cranes was instantly shattered. And the 1,000 paper cranes seemed to have lost their power and slowly fell to the ground. Lin Yi picked it up casually, put it away and put it in his arms. This is a strange item. Although it has no special power, he will not let it go if he can collect it. Maybe it will be useful one day in the future. At this time, Lin Yi looked at the deputy general manager and said with a smile, "Mr. Deputy General Manager, my mission has been completed. Can you give me my reward?" The deputy general manager glanced at Lin Yi coldly and said lightly, "These questions of yours have not been confirmed by my own eyes, so you can't get the reward yet. At the same time, in order to verify that you are not lying, you have to go to the underground biological laboratory with me. After I take action to solve the mysterious boss and verify that everything is the same as you said, you can get what we promised." Lin Yi's heart sank slightly when he heard this. This guy really has bad intentions. Are you planning to find an opportunity to solve me down there? Already knowing the other party's clear plan in his heart, Lin Yi's face did not change at all. Since the deputy general manager doesn't let you say that, then I will naturally not refuse. In that case, let's go down. Time is pressing and we can't wait. You wait here. The deputy general manager looked at Mrs. Rose and ordered. After that, the deputy general manager walked straight to the underground garage. Lin Yi shrugged and followed. Watching the two disappear in the underground garage, Mrs. Rose and the other two looked at each other. They knew that what was going to happen next might not be that simple. Maybe the next person to come out would be either Lin Yi or the deputy general manager. But no one stopped them, and no one wanted to follow in to see. Everyone is a smart person. When facing life and death, they care about themselves rather than others. They don't want to get involved in such things. Anyway, no matter what the result is, it won't have much impact on them. On the contrary, following in is the big problem. If the deputy general manager takes action against Lin Yi, will they do it? Or not? If they stop him, they may end up like Lin Yi. If they don't, they will automatically be under the command of the deputy general manager and become his people. Otherwise, what awaits them is murder and silencing, which is the final outcome. Then not following in is the best choice. No matter what happens, it has nothing to do with them. Mrs. Rose looked at Lin Yi and the other person who disappeared in the darkness, and a trace of regret appeared in her eyes. She also paid attention to Lin Yi's affairs and knew that he was a first-rate person at solving cases. What a pity. He is such a talented person. Yinswili sighed with regret when he heard what he said. There's nothing he can do. Who made him be targeted by the deputy general manager? Xuanhuan sneered beside him. He who knows the times is a hero. If he is willing to hand over the Tianjing, he may still have a chance to live. The deputy general manager is also a person who cherishes talent very much. As long as you have the ability, you can be appreciated by him. They just talked silently for a while, and they didn't continue to talk in depth. They naturally saw that Lin Yi would not easily succumb to the threat of anyone. They are guys who have seen countless people. Basically, they can understand what kind of person is and what kind of personality they have by just looking at them and chatting a few words. Otherwise, they would not be able to do this position now. Observing words and expressions and analyzing psychology are just the most basic operations. In the underground parking garage, the deputy general manager walked in front, and Lin Yi followed behind. The two did not say a word, as if no one knew each other. Soon they came to the entrance of the underground elevator, which was covered with black networks, blocking anything that tried to come up below. Standing in the area in front of this network, the voice of the deputy general manager suddenly sounded in Lin Yi's ears. "Aren't you afraid?" Lin Yi smiled faintly. "There's nothing that can scare me." "Really? You still have a chance to choose." "But I definitely won't choose. The House of Everything I Created." Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 482. Hearing Lin Yi's answer, the deputy general manager frowned slightly. People who are too confident will always fail. That's for sure, but it's definitely not me. Lin Yi always had a faint smile on his face, and he replied indifferently. He didn't take the deputy general manager's threat to heart at all. The confident answer made the deputy general manager's brows deepen a little. He didn't understand what kind of confidence and means Lin Yi had to think that he could escape from him. "Since you don't listen to advice, let me see what kind of trump card you are hiding." After this thought flashed through his mind, the deputy general manager stopped talking. A faint light shone around him, and he walked straight towards the elevator entrance covered with networks. This mysterious light was very wonderful, as if it put the deputy general manager in a wonderful spatial level, avoiding the touch of these networks. When Lin Yi saw this scene, the light of the true destiny flashed in his eyes. He had already seen that the deputy general manager was already in another spatial level at this time. This was the power generated by the black clothes on the other party. Lin Yi looked at the black clothes carefully. It looked a bit like an old-fashioned suit, but it was also a strange item. At this time, the strange item was emitting a faint black glow, which complemented the mysterious badge in his body. Shenmi's badge has 5 colors, which seem to represent 5 different strange powers. And black is one of them. Does it involve the power of space? It is somewhat similar to my true destiny. but my true destiny is not just different in space, but completely untouchable. As long as I use true destiny, I can touch the time and space level he is in. This ability is ineffective for me. Observe and collect information to compare with yourself. This is what Lin Yi will do next. Only by understanding all the powers of the deputy director in front of him can Lin Yi truly concretize how to deal with this person. The initial plan was just an idea. Lin Yi, who was shining with the light of the true destiny, entered the elevator without any obstacles, just like the deputy director. Then they fell to the deepest part of the elevator before free fall. Although the deputy director did not look back at Lin Yi could see a wisp of soul-level thoughts, always covering him and observing him. While Lin Yi was observing the deputy director, the other party was also observing him, looking for his flaws. This was destined to be an information war of intrigue. The more information one revealed, the less chance one would have of winning in the subsequent collision. The deputy director observed Lin Yi's method at this time, and a hint of surprise appeared in his eyes. This guy is interesting. He can actually be in another time and space like me and avoid the blockade of the weird network. It seems that it is also the power of time and space. We need to be vigilant. Is this what Madame Rose said, the way to avoid any harm? But his cultivation is only at the level of Ghost Immortal Deo, and only the first level. When I find out all your cards, you will never have any chance to escape from my hands. Although the power of the space level is strange, it is not impossible to crack it. One of the powers I am best at is the space level. In front of me, the power of space is useless. At this time, the deputy general manager did not realize the true face of Lin Yi's power. Soon they came to the deepest part of the underground elevator. The two entered the corridor of the laboratory from the elevator door. The black biological tissue that permeated here was seen at first sight. These wriggling biological tissues are slowly expanding, and they are only a dozen meters away from the elevator door. The strange tentacles are constantly waving and wriggling in the corridor covered by biological tissues. The biological laboratory seemed to have completely turned into a nest of terror. The deputy director frowned. He didn't expect the situation below to be so serious. A black candle appeared in his hand at some point. The candle was completely black, with only the wick being a light dark green. He placed the candle in front of him and blew gently. A green flame spread out from the candle and turned into a green fire dragon. It rushed straight towards the passage. The green flame ignited everything and swept away. All biological tissues were collapsing rapidly, turning into countless black ashes, scattered all over the ground. In just a blink of an eye, all the passages within a range of at least 30 meters were cleared. The dark green flames in the distance ahead were still burning on those black biological tissues, spreading deeper. But Lin Yi couldn't smell any burnt smell in the air. This kind of flame seemed to be burning energy. Seeing this scene, he couldn't help but frown. Another strange power, fire. The deputy director seemed to be satisfied with his own power. The candle in his hand disappeared in his hand. He continued to move forward into the depths of the passage as if he was walking in the garden. Lin Yi followed behind him and observed him carefully. However, the true destiny Daoji was not opened all the time. It was opened every few minutes and then observed. Keep the spiritual wave constantly consumed and restored, always maintain the peak state. Anyway, all the strange biological organizations in the channel have been cleared by the deputy general manager. It is very safe, and he does not need to clean and waste energy. The more he observes, the more solemn Lin Yi's eyes are. This deputy general manager is indeed unfathomable. The green flame can basically burn through a channel of about 100 meters each time, and then it will gradually become unsustainable. It is extinguished by the strange biological organizations around. Then the deputy general manager will reignite it once, and the repeated effect does not consume much of his power. It is about 1% of the strange power in his body. At this time, after they advanced 200 meters, they encountered a black mass, and more than 30 strange beings appeared in front. These strange beings moved their bodies and rushed towards them from the wall, the canopy, and the ground. The terrifying number is like a huge black wave. Seeing these strange beings, the Deputy General Manager frowned slightly. There was still a black candle in his hand, and he blew out a breath gently. This breath was full of strange power, which was added to the green flame and turned into a dark green fire dragon. The fire dragon swept towards these strange beings that were rushing towards it. But these strange beings were not afraid at all, and they rushed towards the fire dragon in an instant, waving their claws and smashing down with great force. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 483. Boom. The dark green fire dragon was torn to pieces by dozens of strange beings. At this time, the bodies of these strange beings were full of tiny holes. A stream of sharp air whistles erupted from their bodies. The airflow formed a stream of air on their bodies, isolating the air like armor. There was also a trace of black strange power in the airflow. The airflow sprayed the green flames and scattered them on the surrounding walls, ground, and ceiling. After defeating the green fire dragon, they still rushed towards Lin Yi and the Deputy General Manager fiercely. A sneer appeared at the corner of the Deputy General Manager's mouth, and a golden glove suddenly appeared on his left hand. 5 golden filaments spread out from the glove at some point. These filaments were very delicate, and a flashing, wonderful pattern closed all the space in front of the Deputy General Manager. The Deputy General Manager's 5 fingers on his left hand lightly hooked, and a dark golden strange power had been injected into these filaments. Then these filaments suddenly trembled slightly, vibrating at a frequency beyond imagination. The moment those strange beings touched the network formed by these filaments, they were all cut into pieces like tofu. At this time, another green flame surged out, sweeping all the fragments. In less than a breath, the Deputy General Manager was surrounded by ashes. Seeing this series of sophisticated means, Lin Yi couldn't help but be secretly shocked. The opponent's strength is really completely different from his own. There are more than 30 strange beings, each of which is at the level of human immortals. But the Deputy General Manager only eliminated all these things in 2 moves. At this time, the strange power in the opponent's body was only consumed by 5%. This kind of combat power and endurance made him feel a huge pressure, which weighed heavily on his heart. It seems that my plan is not so easy to achieve, I can only deal with it as it happens. The existence above the ghost immortal is too powerful, I am very passive. Countless thoughts flashed through his mind, and Lin Yi's face couldn't help but become more solemn. At this time, the Deputy General Manager seemed to have seen the solemn expression on Lin Yi's face. What do you think of my 2 moves? Hearing the Deputy General Manager's teasing, Lin Yi smiled. The Deputy General Manager's methods are indeed powerful. More than 30 strange beings at the level of human immortals were eliminated by you in a few moves. It's really terrifying, I admire you very much. The Deputy General Manager nodded with satisfaction. Let's go, I want to see what kind of thing came this time. Lin Yi did not notice a trace of greed in the Deputy General Manager's eyes. He came down so readily this time, in fact, he also had his own purpose. He was interested in the gem on the head of that strange being. Strange original stone, I didn't expect that we would see this thing. Hee, God really helps me. Getting the heaven crystal and the strange original stone at the same time means that I can push all the power of the cultivation path and the strange side to the highest level. I am afraid that I am the only one in the world who has this opportunity. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but reveal an unspeakable smile on his face. It was a kind of confidence that the world and the world would be in the same destiny. He felt that the world was helping him to break through. But Lin Yi hadn't noticed this yet. The deputy director was invincible all the way, and nothing could stop him. He wore a golden glove on his left hand, and countless golden threads were spread on the glove, like a net blocking the road ahead of him. He pushed forward step by step, and these threads vibrated at a wonderful speed under his strange power. Let each of these threads have the power to split gold and split stones. All the strange tentacles or strange existences that want to attack him will be cut into pieces and burned to ashes in the green flames. During the whole process, he did not use any other power, and simply killed all the enemies who blocked his way. It took only about 10 minutes for the two to reach the end of the passage. At the end of the passage was a huge biological laboratory covering hundreds of square meters. There was a broken gate here, and the ground was a thick black biological tissue structure. Hundreds of strange tentacles hung from the canopy, stretched out from the ground, and swayed on the wall, looking like a group of demons dancing wildly. Looking at this scene, the deputy director had no expression or worry at all. His eyes flashed with a dark light, staring closely at the center of the biological laboratory. There was a huge black egg with a diameter of about 5 meters, and the egg was covered with countless tiny holes. A shadow could be vaguely seen inside the air. A pair of black eyes seemed to see through the countless dense holes and saw the deputy director and Lin Yi standing at the door. A cold murderous intent enveloped the two of them. After the deputy director saw the strange existence in the giant egg with his own eyes, a trace of solemnity appeared in his eyes. Is it the combat power of the heavenly immortal Dao level? Fortunately, it has not yet completely descended, and its strength is about the peak of the earthly immortal Dao. I still have a chance. After judging the opponent's strength, the deputy general manager already knew what to do next. His eyes passed over the strange existence and fell on the other party's head. There was a black stone there, which was releasing mysterious power continuously. This force maintains a hole with a diameter of about 1 meter above the weird boss's head. Black liquid keeps pouring out of the hole, falling into the giant egg, and then spreading to the ground along the tiny hole. The biological tissues on the ground are frantically swallowing these black liquids. It is input into every corner of the biological laboratory along the pipes inside the biological tissues. Interesting, the entire biological laboratory is being transformed. Are you going to turn this place into a nest? This guy is really powerful. At this time, Lin Yi was also observing the nest, and his eyes fell on the deputy general manager. Through observation, he could see the flow of power in the deputy general manager's body. The fourth weird power, the eye part. Lin Yi was carefully analyzing and collecting information about the deputy general manager. So far, he has detected 4 different weird powers on the other party. The golden gloves bloomed with a high-frequency sharp power. The clothes on his body involved the power of space. The black candle is a kind of green flame power. And now the black light gathered in the eyes is filled with a strange fluctuation. His true destiny has analyzed what kind of power this wave is. It is a kind of ability to observe and analyze everything, a kind of resonant observation. When the wave emitted by the eyes covers an object, this wave will change its own frequency and resonate with the object, thus understanding all the information of the object. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 484. At this time, he saw the fluctuations originating from the deputy head of the giant egg, which were resonating with the other party. There is also a strange power that this guy hasn't used yet. I don't know what it is related to. He never used the power of spiritual practice from the beginning to the end. Those magical weapons also look very powerful. The black flying sword should be responsible for attacking. The red lotus is a spiritual defensive weapon. There seems to be a mysterious space inside the jade bottle in the left hand. There is a red flame. It is very powerful and seems to be able to burn everything. The big black bell above the head should be a defensive weapon, with a vibrating power inside. And that Taoist robe should also have defensive power. Lin Yi almost imagined the effect that these magical weapons of the deputy headquarters could exert in battle. There are basically no flaws, perfect defense from mind to body. This guy is really armed to the teeth. He has no flaws from attack to defense. The more he observed, the more Lin Yi realized how powerful the other party was. It is absolutely impossible to win purely by yourself. At this time, the deputy chief's voice suddenly sounded in his ears. I will fight with the strange existence in the giant egg later. Now I give you a task, and you have to complete it for me. Lin Yi smiled lightly. I'm just here to detect this information, not to fight. I cannot accept the assignment of the deputy head of the headquarters. Upon hearing Lin Yi's words, the deputy head of the headquarters narrowed his eyes and showed a cold and stern expression. First, I am not asking you, but ordering you. Second, if you disobey my orders here, then I have the right to kill you directly. This is the right that belongs to me, the deputy chief of the men in black. Lin Yi smiled indifferently when he heard this. Indeed, this is the power of your deputy chief. He can deal with any man in black or external commissioner, especially during battle. It is also written in the contract. However, there is another clause in the contract, which requires a price equal to the risk. As an external commissioner, I have to take action. My main task here today is to investigate the details and report them. I have already completed this task, and I have not been paid yet. I don't have to do the second task at the same time, and it's not a violation of the contract at all. The deputy head of the headquarters frowned. What do you mean? First of all, I have to get the reward for the first task before the task is over. At that time, I can take on the second task. I will only take action as long as you pay me accordingly. Upon hearing Lin Yi's request, the deputy head of the headquarters looked gloomy, and then looked at him with a half-smile. This is underground. Even if you die, no one will know how you died. You dare to talk to me like this, it seems you really don't know how to live or die. Originally, I thought you were a smart person, but now it seems that you are really disappointing. You are really ignorant of current affairs. Lin Yi smiled lightly when he heard the deputy chief's threat. Maybe I can't beat you, but if I want to leave, believe me, no one in the world can stop me. Looking at Lin Yi with a confident smile on his face, the deputy head of the department frowned slightly. He really couldn't figure out what confidence Lin Yi had to talk to him like this. He will not waver in the face of his own threats. Suddenly, a smile appeared on the deputy head's lips. Okay, since you said so, I will give you the reward for the first mission. Today I really want to convince people with reason and make you convinced that you have lost. When Lin Yi heard this, he smiled faintly and said, I am convinced. You may not be able to do it based on your words alone. He did not hesitate to say anything, but in fact Tuita had already made all the preparations. As long as the deputy head of the headquarters takes action against him, he will leave immediately. After returning, be ready to activate the Acacia Bell to travel to another world at any time. He knew it was impossible for him to kill the man in front of him. Through observations along the way, his original plan has basically gone bankrupt. In terms of pure strength, it is completely impossible for him to win. That's why he was ready to retreat and refuse to continue acting with the deputy chief. The deputy head of the headquarters looked at Lin Yi, waved his right hand, and a bottle of cyan elixir appeared in his hand. This jade bottle is only 8 centimeters in size, and a strange wave of waves is permeating from inside. At the same time, a golden mysterious scripture appeared in the hands of the deputy head. This is the Earth Spirit Pill and the method of Mighty King Kong. Your first mission has been successfully completed, and now they are yours. With that said, the deputy head of the headquarters waved his hand and threw 2 things towards Lin Yi. Lin Yi's eyes flashed with the true meaning of destiny, and he instantly saw through all the secrets in these 2 items. Then he discovered a hidden power hidden in these 2 objects. His eyes narrowed slightly, and a surge of energy spread out from his hands. He wrapped these two things directly, and at the same time took out a small bag from his arms and put these two things in it. Seeing this scene, the deputy head of the headquarters didn't take it seriously at all. I got the things, now you have to take over the second task. Lin Yi smiled and said, of course there is no problem, but what do you want me to do? What is the price? This needs to be made clear. The deputy director sneered, I will fight this thing later, and all you have to do is bring me that strange stone. What is this strange stone? What is its function? How dangerous is it? Don't worry, the strange stone itself is not dangerous, but it can spontaneously emit strange power. Just grab it for me when I attract this strange existence. Then you will get the cultivation experience of the earthly immortal level. That was compiled by me personally, summarizing all the experience of earthly immortal cultivation. Lin Yi's eyebrows jumped when he heard this, which was undoubtedly a huge temptation. If he could get it, he could minimize the deviation of his cultivation. Thinking of this, Lin Yi took a deep breath, and a gleam of light appeared in his eyes. I can accept this mission and reward. However, how can I guarantee that the reward you give me is okay? After all, when it comes to cultivation experience, a single word can lead to 1,000 miles of error. You have no credibility with me. Hearing Lin Yi's doubtful words, the deputy director did not get angry. He just waved his left hand, and a strange yellow paper appeared in the air. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 485. This is a strange object, a spiritual contract. Its function is that once an agreement is signed, it must not be violated. Otherwise, the power of the contract will descend directly, causing your spirit to die. And this is a one-time strange object. Once used, it will disappear. All power will be concentrated in this contract. I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow. I have written down the content of the contract. As long as you sign it, we will reach an agreement. I can guarantee that there will be no problems with the earth immortal cultivation experience I give you. The strange spiritual contract floated towards Lin Yi. The light of the true Dao in Lin Yi's eyes flashed, and he immediately saw through the wonderful and strange power that permeated the contract. This strange power is not particularly dangerous. He reached out to catch the contract, and a piece of the contract content was already written on it. The content is not complicated, it is very simple. As long as Lin Yi gets the strange stone and gives it to the Deputy General Manager, he can get the Deputy General Manager's Earth Immortal Cultivation experience. The Deputy General Manager will also ensure that the cultivation experience is intact and there will be no danger. Because once the contract is violated, the spiritual destruction of the contract will be faced. At this time, Lin Yi's spiritual wave has been silently injected into the spiritual contract. Then he quickly understood the full nature of this spiritual contract. A sneer appeared in his heart. Sure enough, this guy has no credit at all, and secretly buried a bomb waiting for me. He thought I wouldn't know the true nature of this contract. This strange item has a power limit, and it can only work on the existence of the ghost immortal level at most. It cannot cause absolutely destructive damage to the existence of the earth immortal level. Of course, this information was not told to Lin Yi by the spiritual contract itself, but the information obtained by Lin Yi through the analysis of the true destiny. This guy wants to cheat me. There is really no place without traps. But now that we know the principle of this thing, it is not certain who is calculating who. Thinking of this, Lin Yi signed his name happily. A wisp of essence was imprinted on the contract and was quickly absorbed by it. The Deputy General Manager had already left his breath on it, as if to show his sincerity to Lin Yi. Unfortunately, if Lin Yi did not have the true destiny, he would probably be deceived by him. After signing the contract, This spiritual contract immediately ignited without wind and turned into ashes. A mysterious power rose from the ashes of the contract and connected to Lin Yi and the Deputy General Manager. A smile appeared on the corner of the Deputy General Manager's mouth. He knew that Lin Yi had fallen into his trap. But unfortunately, what he didn't know was that in Lin Yi's plan, he also stepped into the trap. Although this contract cannot cause fatal damage to the Deputy General Manager, if it breaks out, it will inevitably cause him a lot of trouble. Especially on the battlefield, it is a place that changes constantly. Lin Yi looked at the Deputy Director and suddenly spoke. Deputy Director, since we have signed the contract, why don't you just give me the reward directly? In this way, I will also go all out to help you get the strange raw stone. Hearing this, the Deputy Director thought for a while, with a smile on his face. Okay, anyway, you can't use this thing now, it doesn't matter if I give it to you. As he said, an exquisite notebook appeared in the hands of the Deputy Director. Throwing it casually, the notebook came towards Lin Yi. Lin Yi saw the Deputy Director throwing the notebook over and immediately caught it. Without even looking at it, he put it in his arms. The Deputy Director turned his head with a calm look and looked at the mysterious and strange boss in the giant egg in the center of the laboratory. But at this moment, a trace of mockery rose in his heart. This guy is still too careless. I'll bury a bomb in your first reward. There are traps in the contract. There are traps in this notebook, and only those who get my special code can unlock it. No matter what happens today, your ending is doomed. Death is your only destination. In the heart of the Deputy Director, Lin Yi is already a dead man, and he only needs to wait for the harvest. At this time, he really focused on the mysterious and weird boss. Facing this weird boss, he must go all out. I'll take action later, you see the right time to get the weird raw stone. Don't worry, I know what to do. The Deputy Director wore a golden glove on his left hand and held a black candle in his right hand, and stepped into the laboratory hall. In an instant, it was as if a hornet's nest was poked, and the signal to start the war sounded. Countless weird shots, as if they had found the target, swept towards him. Hundreds of tentacles were like black waves, and even the tips of these tentacles were directly opened, revealing countless sharp teeth inside. Facing the overwhelming attack, countless golden threads instantly wrapped the Deputy General Manager in it. Formed a 9-layer fine network, covering the Deputy General Manager. Green flames spread out from the candle in his right hand, and quickly spread along the golden threads to the entire golden thread network. The golden-green network was completed and directly blocked the countless tentacles. The tentacles from all directions fell with great force. The first layer of the golden-green silk network collapsed and squeezed onto the second, third, and fourth layers. Of course, the power of the tentacles ended there. Tremors and vibrations continued to spread on the network, like a meat grinder, cutting all the tentacles into pieces. The delicate teeth could not resist the high-frequency vibrations of the network, and at the same time, the countless fragments could not resist the dark green flames burning everything. Endless ashes fell everywhere. At the same time, the golden-green network was superimposed with 9 layers and expanded towards the laboratory. The golden silk threads tore through countless black biological tissues on the ground, walls, and ceiling. The terrifying flames swept around, igniting and destroying everything and turning it into ashes. But the golden silk threads deliberately bypassed the black giant egg in the center. Obviously, the Deputy Director's goal was to target the black biological tissues that filled the hall of the biological laboratory. The purpose is also very clear: to avoid interference in the next battle, and at the same time eliminate the home advantage of this mysterious boss. Lin Yi watched all this from behind, with a hint of shock in his eyes. The power level of the Earth Immortal Dao is completely different from that of the Ghost Immortal Dao. With such a large-scale range attack, he saw that the consumption of the Deputy General Manager's body was only 10% of the strange power. Along the way, the strange power in the Deputy General Manager's body was only consumed by 30%. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 486. The combat power of the Earth Immortal Dao level is too strong. At this time, the whole hall was filled with green flames, and countless ashes covered the ground like heavy snow, 1 foot thick, submerging the caves. At this time, the deputy director of the headquarters moved his hand slightly. Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow. The golden-green network that expanded to the entire laboratory hall quickly shrank. It pressed towards the giant egg in the center, as if to decompose the giant egg. After eliminating the home advantage, he began the real attack and battle. In an instant, all 9 layers of golden networks pressed on the black giant egg. The dark green flames penetrated everywhere, burning towards the inside of the giant egg along the countless holes on the black giant egg. The deputy director of the headquarters seemed to want to burn the mysterious boss inside to death in the giant egg. But the next moment, something weird happened. A black and gray breath spread out from the giant egg. The flames that came into contact with this breath were frozen as if frozen, solidified instantly, and then turned from green to black and gray. The 9-layer golden network was also unable to avoid it, and turned into a gray-black network under this force. The next moment, both the flames and the golden network broke into pieces, turning into strange gray small round beads. Seeing this scene, Lin Yi and the deputy director were both awed. What kind of power is this? The deputy director had a bad premonition in his heart. At this moment, the giant egg slowly cracked from the middle, and a figure walked out of it. Entering their sight was a very perfect existence. About 2 meters tall, the streamlined black muscles were clearly visible, and the structure was completely human. There were 2 curved horns on the head that spiraled upwards, a foot long. The 2 dark eyes were all black, without any pupils or whites of the eyes. The face was similar to a human face, but without lips. The sharp teeth could be seen directly exposed, looking very ferocious. The skin was very smooth and looked like a metallic texture, as if its skin was a layer of metal skin. His arms were hanging down, and the tips of his 5 fingers were all sharp nails. The soles of his feet also had 5 toes, all with sharp nails. This monster was all black, without a trace of other colors, like a dark god. He slowly walked out of the giant egg, with a faint black smoke all over his body, and his eyes fell on the deputy general manager. Fu Zizang was seen by this gaze, and a creepy feeling suddenly rose from his heart. The next moment, the weird boss suddenly disappeared from the spot, leaving only a residual image. Then he was already in front of the deputy general manager. He raised his left hand and hit the deputy general manager's chest silently. Bang! A huge muffled sound exploded, and he flew out directly. The deputy general manager instantly hit the gate behind him. The entire gate broke under the huge force. Lin Yi realized something was wrong at the same time, and the true destiny was activated, sinking into the ground and disappearing in the passage. He didn't want to get involved in the fight between the two. The deputy general manager's body fell like a missile 10 meters away from the passage. Smoke and dust rose, and a huge pit was directly hit on the ground. The weird boss monster did not stop attacking, and flashed on the spot, directly above the pit where the deputy general manager fell. 2 black lights suddenly shot down from his eyes. Dang! A long bell sounded. A black bell appeared out of thin air and blocked the black light. The collision between the two produced a huge roar, which made the entire biological laboratory tremble. A black sword light burst out from under the big pit and instantly chopped the weird boss's chest. In just a moment, the weird boss flew upside down like being hit by a truck and hit the ceiling directly. The huge force directly knocked a big hole in the ceiling. A sword light pierced straight into the chest of the weird boss, who hit the ceiling. The strange boss's dark palm suddenly slapped out, hitting the sword light with violent power. The violent power exploded between the two, and the sword light was directly slapped away and inserted into the wall next to it. At this time, the big bell on the ground slowly rose, revealing the Deputy General Manager below. The Deputy General Manager's face was slightly solemn, and there was a strange black power on his chest, which was the mark of a palm. This mark covered his chest, but strangely did not touch his clothes and chest, but floated in the air on his chest, as if blocked by an invisible barrier. Lin Yi had already retreated to the other side of the passage, away from the battlefield where the two monsters clashed, and looked at the mark on the Deputy General Manager's chest. The light of the true destiny flashed in his eyes, and he immediately knew what it was. The space barrier reacted the moment he was attacked. At this time, the strange boss fell from the canopy and stepped heavily on the ground. He had no injuries on his body, and everything just now did not leave any marks on his smooth skin. The deputy chief's eyes showed a trace of solemnity, and he calmly looked at the strange boss in front of him. His physical ability is extremely strong, and he can even break the speed of sound. It's not easy to deal with, but speed alone can't win the war. His left hand dropped, and the golden glove spread out countless golden threads, spreading to the entire passage. These networks seemed to have life, quickly building one network after another, completely closing the entire passage. The weird boss watched these golden silk networks quickly form, and immediately reacted. He slowly opened his mouth and sucked hard. The air in the entire space rushed into his body like a black hole. His body was like a bottomless pit, and countless air disappeared in his mouth. Seeing this scene, the deputy director of the headquarters, who was facing the weird existence, froze. His left hand suddenly clenched, and countless golden silk threads straightened in an instant, and began to vibrate violently at high frequencies. At the same time, he waved his right hand, and the black flying sword flew out of the wall. Like a stream of light passing through the gap in the silk thread, it stabbed towards the head of the weird existence. This sword was as fast as lightning, and it directly brought a shriek. The weird boss existence saw the black sword light stabbing at him, but did not fight back. A violent muffled sound exploded. At some point, a hexagonal diamond-shaped defensive barrier made of strange black power appeared in front of him. There were dozens of these defensive barriers at a glance, each of which was pure darkness, absorbing everything like a black hole. The sword light of the Deputy General Manager pierced these barriers without causing any damage, but only made a metallic collision sound. Then a huge shockwave that could be seen by the naked eye spread along the barrier to the surroundings. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 487. When it reached the boundary of the barrier, it turned into countless waves, dissipated into the air, and brought about a trace of air impact. Other than that, there was no damage. The strange boss battled behind the barrier without moving, just opened his mouth and continued to absorb air. Although he absorbed countless air, the opponent's chest did not swell at all, as if his stomach was infinitely large. The sense of danger quickly enveloped the Deputy General Manager, and he felt that a huge force was forming in the opponent's body. With a frown, his right hand pinched a seal, and the power in his body was injected into the black flying sword along the mysterious channel. The next moment, the flying sword once again burst into infinite black light and began to tremble violently. This vibration even produced a layer of light fog, and the black light fog enveloped the entire flying sword. Then in an instant, the flying sword split into 10 illusory sword shadows. The sword shadows frantically absorbed the energy around them, and at the same time became solid, and finally turned into 10 pure physical sword lights. The 10 sword lights burst out with a fierce scream at the same time, and launched an attack from 360 angles around this weird boss. At this time, hexagonal diamond-shaped barriers appeared at all angles. The huge force exploded in an instant, and countless barriers quickly had problems after enduring the bombardment of 10 sword lights. Countless cracks spread along these barriers, and finally accompanied by the sound of glass breaking. Crack. All these barriers were pierced. 10 black sword lights stabbed towards the body of the weird boss. The sword lights stabbed from all directions, front, back, left, and right, and it seemed that this weird boss would be hit by these sword lights. But the terrible thing happened in an instant. An extremely terrifying scream and sound waves rushed out from every skin of this weird boss. At this time, the epidermis of this weird existence underwent a strange change. It was shaking like a wave, and the naked eye could see countless extremely small holes appearing on the smooth skin. Those holes were erupting countless air currents and terrifying sound waves. It formed a huge shock wave, erupting towards every place in the front, back, left and right of the passage. 10 sword lights were the first to be hit, and were enveloped by these airflow sound waves, and then something incredible happened. The black sword light broke into pieces as if it had encountered a natural enemy. In an instant, it turned into countless energy particles in the sound waves and vibrations and dissipated around. The black flying sword hit the indestructible wall and was instantly bounced back. Countless airflows were rushing towards the passage, and countless fragments and powders appeared on the walls, ceilings, and the ground. Mixed with huge airflows, a storm of matter, airflow, energy, and sound waves was formed. The golden threads that filled the passage were impacted by countless airflows, and each thread was impacted countless times. Bang bang bang. The sound of these golden threads breaking kept ringing one after another, filling the entire passage. The black bell dropped a black glow, completely covering the deputy general manager. The huge impact swept through, but the deputy general manager was as unmoved as a diamond pillar. These impacts could not hurt him at all, and his big bell made countless huge roars. Boom boom boom. Every moment, his magic weapon was making a loud noise of being hit. But the power of the magic weapon was so strong that it easily blocked this impact. But he was not happy, because this was just the beginning. The opponent destroyed the trap he had set with a casual blow, restricting the opponent's golden network of movement. When the impact lasted for a few seconds, countless fine holes on the skin of the weird boss began to shrink. At the same time, it opened its mouth, and a black light as thick as a thumb gushed out of its mouth. Like the aurora, it was a light mixed with countless air compression and weird power. This light instantly crossed a distance of more than 10 meters and hit the black big bell directly. The big bell was struck by lightning, and the falling black light curtain encountered an irresistible force and began to sink rapidly. The huge impact, the black light and the barrier caused countless distortions at the collision point, until it finally exploded. The area where the deputy general manager was located was shrouded by countless broken reinforced concrete and smoke. The light from the strange boss disappeared as the light of the big bell shattered. Lin Yi watched the entire collision process and was also affected by countless storms. But he did not move at all and was not damaged. True destiny has already opened and is immune to all attacks. But this wave of impact directly consumed 5% of his spiritual waves. He knew that these two monster-level existences, any battle aftermath is the limit of true destiny. He can withstand this kind of aftermath at most 20 times. If you want to ensure your own safety, you must choose to leave after a maximum of 15 times. In the smoke, a figure suddenly rushed out. At this time, the deputy director of the headquarters had a gloomy face, and a crack appeared on the black bell above his head. Although the black light has been falling to cover him, a flying sword has shot out before him and slashed towards the strange boss. The sword light was so fast that it could not be locked with the naked eye, and only shadows could be seen one after another. These sword lights fell wildly on this strange existence, leaving countless marks on him. Sword marks flashed and cut on his smooth body, and at least 10 appeared in an instant. Each sword mark was only a few millimeters deep, as if the power of the flying sword could not cut the opponent's body. But the terrifying thing is that these scars will disappear at an astonishing speed at the same time as they appear. This strange boss has a strong regeneration ability, which is very terrifying. The deputy director frowned as he looked at the opponent's powerful body. The strength of the monster's body in front of him greatly exceeded his imagination, almost comparable to the strength of the Defense Series magic weapon. A trace of greed appeared in his eyes. This is a good material. If it can be taken down and refined into a magic weapon, it will be amazing. Thinking of this, the strange object in his hand slowly disappeared, and a jade bottle appeared in his left hand. He was seen aiming the jade bottle at the strange boss who was fighting with the black flying sword. Then he pinched a magic formula with his right hand and pointed his two fingers at the jade bottle at the same time. Endless flames surged out of it, like a fire dragon rushing out of a river, flooding the passage in front of him. 9 golden illusory fire dragons could be vaguely seen in the fire dragon, sweeping towards the strange boss. When the strange boss saw the surging flames, he seemed to sense the danger. Countless fine holes appeared on his body again, and layers of black liquid gushed out from them, quickly covering his body. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 488. The black liquid spread out and quickly covered the whole body. The body of the weird boss seemed to be covered with a layer of black heavy armor. His height soared to 2.5 meters, turning into a huge humanoid weapon. He suddenly stepped on his feet and turned into a black shadow, bringing up an endless black airflow, rushing straight into the golden sea of fire. The brave winds when they meet on a narrow road. The two boundless and huge forces collided with each other in an instant. The flames were boiling, and a passage was split by this huge force. The passage extended straight to the Deputy General Manager, and the huge figure rushed towards the Deputy General Manager like a meteorite. The black sword light was like a clever dragon, constantly slashing at every corner of this weird boss. At this moment, the sword light left traces of more than a dozen attacks on this weird boss. In the body of the weird boss, the originally fierce impact force had to stop under the fierce attack. Everything happened in just a moment. And it was at this moment of pause that the huge fire dragon surrounded the strange existence again. It seemed to have turned into a tornado of fire, and 9 golden fire dragons suddenly rushed out of the tornado. 9 golden fire dragons quickly entangled the man. It was completely bound, and every corner of the arms, neck, and legs were entangled by the golden fire dragons. The tails of the fire dragons were all connected to the golden fire tornado, and countless heat swept the strange boss in an instant. This flame was so terrifying that the ground and the ceiling began to melt and turned into liquid dripping. At this time, the strange boss was covered with spreading black heavy armor. It was armor covered with scales, but under the roasting of the golden flames, these armors also began to show faint red marks. It was a mark like a red-hot iron under the scorching high temperature. Facing this attack, the strange boss immediately began to struggle. The violent force pulled the 9 golden fire dragons frantically, and it shook all over, trying to tear the 9 fire dragons apart. But the 9 fire dragons had great power. Although they were constantly stretched, they never broke away from the body of this weird boss. Lin Yi took a deep breath and stood in the distance watching this battle that was beyond his cognition. Every collision was so terrible: flying swords, flames, defense, sound waves, brilliance, shock waves. Each kind of power caused a large area of damage. If it was the level of the ghost immortal Dao, it would take most of the power in the body to do this. But for the existence of the level of the earth immortal Dao, every attack they made could cause this level of damage, which could be called a human missile. The biggest reason why the masters of the earth immortal Dao were so powerful was that the earth immortal Dao used the surrounding void energy. Lin Yi observed the battle of the Deputy General Manager and got the answer. With each attack, the opponent could mobilize the void energy 5 times the upper limit of his own power. At this moment, he understood how powerful the existence of the earth immortal Dao was. Taking a deep breath, Lin Yi had already raised the danger level of the earthly immortal path to the highest level in his mind. It seems that this time, the probability of leaving the Red Lotus realm is greater. Unless my plan succeeds. At this moment, Lin Yi turned his head and looked at the giant egg from which the giant boss walked out. His eyes were fixed on the strange stone. The inside of the stone was a deep darkness with a very tiny point. A steady stream of pure strange power permeated from it. It was a very pure strange power without a trace of impurities. The strange power also had slight differences depending on the different strange beings. In Lin Yi's many years of observation, many kinds of strange power can be determined. The strange power of strange beings is more or less mixed with some characteristics of individuals. For example, the characteristics of strange abilities, fire, ice, erosion, or emotional fluctuations, such as resentment, desire, jealousy, and other negative emotions. And the strange power leaked from this strange stone is so pure, without any special. At this time, this strange primitive was quietly floating under the huge hole, and the strange power it exuded supported the existence of the whole. The deputy general manager and the strange boss were in a stalemate at this time. The deputy general manager controlled the flame in the jade screen and seemed unable to move. He was pushing the power of this magic weapon with all his strength to trap the strange boss. After the strange boss was trapped by the golden flame, he struggled frantically, and a huge energy fluctuation would burst out every time. The two were competing in endurance, and more parts of the strange boss's body were emitting a faint red color. But the golden fire dragon was constantly twisted and fluctuated under the pulling, and the deputy general manager's energy was also rapidly consumed. Now it depends on who can't hold on, and at this time the deputy general manager obviously noticed Lin Yi's existence. A faint voice sounded in Lin Yi's ears. Now it's your turn. Complete our contract, take the strange stone, and close the hole that opens the other world. At the same time, give me the strange stone. Lin Yi nodded, okay, wait a moment. Lin Yi walked towards the giant egg silently. At this time, the strange boss seemed to see Lin Yi walking towards his nest. A furious roar suddenly broke out. Roar. The terrifying sound was deafening, and the entire underground biological laboratory was filled with huge sound waves. The next moment, the underground biological laboratory seemed to come alive. Countless strange biological tissues shrank wildly, like a black torrent, converging towards the center of the biological laboratory. The biological tissues fell off the wall and turned into countless tentacles, connecting with each other and filling the entire passage. Countless tentacles were covered with sharp suction cups and sharp teeth, which looked so terrifying. The deputy director of the headquarters also discovered the torrent formed by countless tentacles sweeping in from all around. A black candle appeared in front of him, and a mouthful of black strange power blew out. The dark green flame surged out instantly, wrapping him up. The strange power and the power of cultivation are different sources of power. When using the power of cultivation with all his strength, the deputy director of the headquarters can also control strange objects. The passage where he was flooded by strange tentacles, and the green flames were already burning violently. Green and golden flames burned vigorously in this passage, igniting all the tentacles that swept in instantly. But there were too many tentacles, and with great force and impact, many tentacles still rushed through the blocked area from the gaps in the flames. After these tentacles rushed through, they went straight towards Lin Yi, as if they wanted to draw him in and tear him into pieces. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 489. As these strange tentacles rushed through the blockade, countless tentacles flooded the entire laboratory. But the strange scene was that they did not touch Lin Yi at all. Lin Yi seemed to exist in another time and space at this time. The strange boss also noticed Lin Yi's problem, turned his head and looked directly at the deputy director, with cold murderous intent in his eyes. For the first time, he showed emotional fluctuations. He opened his mouth, and countless air rushed into his body frantically. It seemed that he was going to repeat the old trick and burst out the sound wave attack just now. At this time, the golden flame took the opportunity to suddenly rush into his mouth along with the air. The deputy director showed a trace of joy in his eyes. It is difficult to kill you from the outside, but it is much easier to explode from the inside. You are really asking for death. There was a trace of joy in his eyes that he was about to win. It can be seen with the naked eye that the body of this strange boss began to turn red rapidly. It seemed that he was on the verge of destruction in a short time. The weird boss didn't care about his rising temperature, or even the damage caused by the golden flames in his body. 5 seconds passed in the blink of an eye, and at this time the deputy director suddenly found something wrong. Although the weird existence in front of him was getting redder and redder, he felt that he had lost contact with the golden flames that were sucked into his body. His heart suddenly skipped a beat. Then, a black and red flame gushed out of the other party's mouth. The flame condensed into a light as thick as a thumb, pointing directly at the deputy minister's head. The terrifying murderous intent swept over, and he felt the danger of death in an instant. Without any hesitation, the huge weird power was injected into his clothes. A layer of space-time power permeated his body, and then he seemed to enter another space-time level. The light passed through it directly, but the deputy director's face showed a trace of solemnity. A distortion formed in the space-time level he formed, and it was going to tear his space-time level apart. He felt the horror of this power and had to increase the injection of his weird power. He held the strange boss tightly, not giving him any chance to stop Lin Yi. At this moment, Lin Yi had already arrived at the position of the giant egg under the flood of countless tentacles. True destiny has no boundaries, and has already opened. The spiritual wave is being consumed every moment, and he can't stay in this intense environment for long. Looking at the strange stone above his head, Lin Yi raised his hand and grabbed it. Seeing that Lin Yi was about to grab the strange stone, a trace of joy appeared in the eyes of the deputy general manager. But suddenly the joy in the eyes of the deputy general manager disappeared, revealing a trace of astonishment. Lin Yi suddenly stopped his hand, and then raised his left hand, where there was a cane. Then the cane drew a wonderful arc and gently hit the strange stone. Bang! A crisp sound. The strange stone, under a wonderful force, suddenly accelerated and rushed towards the position of the deputy general manager in an instant. At this time, the entire biological laboratory was filled with strange tentacles, but when the strange stone touched these tentacles, they had no resistance at all, and turned into ashes out of thin air, revealing an ashes passage. Strands of dark strange power permeated this passage. The strange stone went straight to the chest of the deputy general manager. Lin Yi's voice sounded in the ears of the deputy general manager. Deputy general manager, the strange stone is given to you, our contract is completed, so goodbye. As soon as the voice fell, Lin Yi had disappeared on the ground and sank into the ground. At this time, the strange stone had arrived in front of the deputy general manager. The deputy general manager's heart skipped a beat. He knew that he had been calculated. At the same time, he also knew that Lin Yi had seen through his conspiracy. The strange stone is not so easy to take, it has a peculiar characteristic. The first life form that touches it, the life form of the Red Lotus realm, will definitely be drained of all its power and energy and then die. After draining the life form, the outer layer of the strange stone will form a mysterious shell, sealing the strange stone inside. And then, the people of the Red Lotus realm can pick up the strange stone safely. All of this was designed by the deputy general manager. He wanted to use Lin Yi's hand to get the stone, and then let him use his life as his stepping stone. At the same time, he could also successfully get the sky crystal, as well as all the costs he paid. A gap in information could lead to death, but unfortunately he met Lin Yi. Under the true fate, all information could not be hidden, and he had already seen the danger permeated on the strange stone. It was a strange power that would be sucked dry as long as it was touched. At the beginning of seeing this strange stone, he already knew that it was covered with a layer of strange power. And when the Deputy General Manager proposed this contract, he also knew what the other party was thinking. But in order to cheat the Deputy General Manager of what he wanted from him, he would go with the flow and agree to the Deputy General Manager's various requests, and also put forward his own requests. Everything went smoothly. The Deputy Director was completely unaware of Lin Yi's thoughts and stepped into the trap that Lin Yi had set for him. At this time, Lin Yi used another method to complete their contract. Looking at the strange raw stone flying over, the Deputy General Manager couldn't move at this time. He was suppressing the strange boss with all his strength. With a frown, the black flying sword rose from his feet and flew towards the strange raw stone. A black sword light filled the entire sword body, directly catching the strange raw stone in mid-air, and at the same time, the sword light quickly formed a wonderful structure around the strange raw stone. All the brilliance shrank, and a black crystal condensed on the strange raw stone. But at this time, the strange raw stone was still slowly emitting a dark strange force. After this strange force touched the black crystal, it immediately exerted a huge pressure on the crystal. Ka-ka-ka. A soft crisp sound sounded. In just a few seconds, the crystal was covered with black cracks. There was a trace of solemnity in his eyes. At this time, the Deputy General Manager could not spare too much strength on the flying sword. He could only move with his mind, and the flying sword flew towards him quickly with the sealed raw stone. The next moment, the flying sword disappeared into a tiny black hole. Lin Yi, who was hiding on the ground, had the light of the true destiny in his eyes flashing, and instantly caught the reason why the flying sword disappeared. It turned out that at this moment, the strange power of the Deputy General Manager formed a unique space. This space is only about 10 centimeters cubic, just enough to fit the flying sword and the strange stone. Lin Yi watched all this and caught the spatial location of the strange stone. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 490. At this time, the space containing the strange raw stone has floated to the feet of the Deputy General Manager, no more than 10 centimeters away from the Deputy General Manager. It seems to be completely under the control of the Deputy General Manager. Seeing this scene, he had an idea in his mind: should I take this thing? You can take it, but the strange power on it has not disappeared. If you touch it with your hand, it will immediately attract people to do it, so you still have to use the destruction cane. A trace of solemnity flashed in his eyes, and at this time he could feel that the contract he signed with the Deputy General Manager had been completed, and the contract power on him was disappearing rapidly. His eyes looked at the Deputy General Manager, and the contract power on the other party had not disappeared, still entangled with him. He, now it's your turn to reap what you sowed. You left a trap in this cultivation experience. But I won't find the problem when I'm not practicing. So the power of the contract won't be activated. But as long as I practice and suffer a certain amount of damage, the power of the contract will explode. In this battle, it's the best time to get you hurt. But I want to see if there's anything on it that I can practice. After all, the cultivation experience of the Earth Immortal Deo, and at the same time, we have to find out the problematic parts. Thinking of this, Lin Yi looked down at the cultivation experience in his hand, and the True Destiny Daoji quickly read all the contents of this cultivation experience. Countless information was absorbed into the True Destiny Daoji, and through the True Destiny Daoji's divine seal, it was transformed into information that Lin Yi could understand. About a few minutes later, he knew what problems were contained in this Earth Immortal Deo cultivation experience. There are 3 problematic places in total, corresponding to 3 different realms. One of them is the tempering of the pills in the spirit pool, which can be practiced in the ghost immortal Deo. To impact the earthly immortal path, pills are very important carriers, and the world generally knows very little about its secrets. But the Deputy General Manager seems to have received information in this regard and knows how to refine pills. Pills are divided into 3 levels and 9 grades. The upper 3 levels, the middle 3 levels, and the lower 3 levels, with the lowest grade of 9 and the highest grade of 1. According to the quality of the pills, the potential is also different. The highest potential is the first grade. Those who can polish a first grade pill in the cultivation path are called golden pills. All non-first grade pills cannot be called golden pills, but can only be called pills. Legend has it that if you want to step into the heavenly immortal path, you must polish the pills to the golden pill to be qualified. And it is very difficult to polish a pill of this level, and you need to use the essence in the pill to wash and refine the pill countless times. Finally, let the pill become a golden pill. But this step is the secret of the sect, and almost no information in this regard has been leaked. Obviously, the Deputy General Manager got some secret information to know the information about the golden pill. The problematic trap is in the method of refining pills. In fact, this method is very simple to say and easy to do. All it takes is time to hone, but there is a trick. To refine pills, you can use the essence to continuously refine them until the pills are formed and turned into golden pills. But in this process, there are some taboos that must be paid attention to. Every day, each person cannot exceed 9 times to refine pills by consuming essence. Once exceeded, the pills will reach their limit, then break, and then accumulate damage, eventually leading to the death of the practitioner. But the Deputy Director did not write this in his experience. And Lin Yi can know it completely through the true destiny. The true destiny observes everything and understands everything. It will see any information and let Lin Yi understand it in a way that he can understand. This is a mysterious method. Anything in this world, as long as Lin Yi sees it, there is no secret. At this time, he looked down at the pill in his spirit pool, and the light of the true destiny in his eyes flashed. He was understanding the composition of the pill in all aspects. At the same time, he began to mobilize the essence inside the pill to flush his pill. He must master all the structural secrets of the pill. Because later, he had to practice according to the content of the earthly immortal experience. When there was a problem, he would use the true destiny route to control the pill to restore it to its original structure. At that time, if he had a problem practicing according to the earthly immortal experience, the backlash of the contract would be launched immediately. For the Deputy Director who was in a difficult battle, it would be a huge trouble. Lin Yi's eyes understood all the composition of the pill in just a few seconds. He looked up at the ground above his head, where the weird boss was constantly releasing his power. The ray of light that just sprayed out all the heat in his body. The weird boss returned to his peak state again, and the dark weird power permeated from his body. His hands violently tore at the golden flame dragon that bound him. The Deputy General was also concentrating on controlling the flame in his jade bottle. He was also controlling the dark green flame to resist the attacks from the tentacles all around. The strange power and energy in his body were steadily decreasing, bit by bit and irreversibly. At this time, the Deputy General Manager's energy was less than 70% of his peak, and his strange power was consumed by 50%. Lin Yi shook his head slightly when he saw this scene. This guy also has a secret seal in his body, storing a lot of energy. At least it can make him return to the peak once. Although this strange boss is powerful, it seems that he can't get rid of the flame in the jade bottle. He is obviously restrained. If this continues, his end will only be death. We must weaken this Deputy General Manager, so that this strange boss will have a chance. It's best to let both of you lose. With a gloomy light in his eyes, Lin Yi flashed and walked out of the passage. Soon he came to a safe room. Then he began to circulate his energy and baptized his pill according to the description on the cultivation experience. Boom boom boom. The energy trembled like a river, and it roared in the pill. According to the records in the cultivation experience, the time to finally cleanse the pill into a golden pill is related to the original pill grade of the practitioner. Lin Yi was surprised to find that his first practice only took 3 minutes to repaint every corner of the pill. The pill is a state between substance and energy, with various magical structures, including many illusory veins throughout the pill.